This episode really gives us an insight into our main two characters, as well as setting the stage for what's going to happen in the following few remaining episodes. Hell, this episode didn't even have an intro, which should indicate the seriousness of this particular episode. So, unlike the last few, this one's going to be a solo episode review. So let's get started. It starts off with Emi Yusa going through the normal motions of a regular day, which each thing in this dream has its own symbolism. Her being concerned with work being first is her indication that she takes her job seriously, as well as being the first thing that she had to do while arriving at Earth, getting a job.
Rika.
And her planning a lunch together indicate that her friendship with her, particularly being probably the first person on Earth she befriended. Chiho calling her and the two planning dinner for the following night also shows how Chiho is a friend of hers after, how things went down when they first met. Susanoo being next in this weird time skipping around of an ordinary day in Earth shows how close they are, considering that Susanoo asks her to pick up some stuff from the store for her. We do head into this particular store to have her question Alciel and Urishihara in their abundance of eggs they're trying to get. This kind of reflects how she doesn't really care for them, but can have a normal conversation, or more accurately, will judge them if need be. Mao being last is not even a surprise, since why would he be anywhere that isn't last in her mind? Hell, in this dream state, the only reason she went to him was because Alice Ramos wanted to see her dad. Though as she tries to enter his apartment room, suddenly everyone vanishes, and then she's dragged into the room. Or rather than being his place, his normal place, it's in the old devil's throne room. She didn't seem to acknowledge that she's on the throne room at first, and instead casually speaks with him about the others disappearing, showing how she trusts him subconsciously, or that, everyone disappeared and he's really the only one to confide on. But as Mao in his devil form starts to approach her menacingly, she continues to speak, even saying, This tells about her desires. She asks herself a question that puts into perspective of her personality. She wanted at first to be with her dad, but couldn't because of the war and lost it when Mao's forces destroyed her home and apparently killed her father. Now it's happening again where she wants to maintain a peaceful life in Earth with those from her dream, those she cares about in Earth, and yet she can't due to the fact that she's now dragged into Enta Isla's mess, or more specifically into Olba's shit. All of this shows how broken Emilia the hero is, and what she desires, and that's just the beginning of this episode. There's more to Emi, but for now, after the whole dream sequence, the episode continuing on with where it left off from the last episode.
Rika
and Chiho, after Mao and Susanoo went into Enta Isla. Chiho showing her faith in them that they'll save Emi, Alciel, and Alice Ramos is not a surprise, and just indicates how much trust she has for them. After this little sequence, we follow Mao and Susanoo, where Mao is caught off guard by Susanoo's sleeping attire, and it's so ridiculously cute to the point that it's funny her reaction to his comment. Asieth Ala also has this attire, and I just like how she's just vibing, really. Once again, Susanoo is being cute. She gets flustered by Mao and gets mad at him when the tent goes down. And then she goes all tsundere when he tries to give her some advice. Astiath Ala does speak about how she's existed for only a year, or at least that's all she remembers. And before that, she doesn't remember anything, making it an interesting mystery on what could have happened to her prior to the 1 year memory she possesses. Now, when Susanoo changes into a more royal-like attire, Mao does look at her slightly surprised, since, let's be real, the only attire we've ever seen her in the show for majority of the time is the kimono. And hell, Mao's only seen her in the kimono, so he definitely is caught off guard, but he also suggests that she should wear Western clothing. Telling her that she would look good is in Western clothing, it's not a good look, Mao, especially the way you said it. If anything, you should be lucky that Jiho wasn't around to hear that, or she would go into instant jealous mode again. Anyway, Susanoo is well flustered by this comment, since, well, she's a bit hesitant the way the Mao said this comment, only for him to basically say that he was saying it in more of the terms of cost effectiveness and easy to clean, which does piss her off. He does try to backtrack, as he was trying to say he wasn't lying that it would look good on her, which, I mean, I would agree, but as she says,
I shall not be swayed again!
Classic Mao, not understanding that his words can cause some impact to those that he says to, or more importantly, how his words have a way with women. Anyway, moving on, we get to see the trio traveling around a bit before going back to Emmy and the bastard Olba and where they're at in the episode. We get the reveal that, yeah, Olba's plans for her are just to use her for propaganda for whatever he's up to, and to go after a few demons he had duped into helping him, only to betray them. We are skipping this portion for now, though we do get Mao unhappy that they have to abandon their vehicles due to them closing in on where Emmy is, and well, if they're caught with these vehicles, it is almost likely that they're gonna just get caught. We go to Emmy in the war room, wanting to honestly either be in the front lines or wanting to end this battle peacefully, which either is prevented by Olba, though interestingly enough, the demons start to retreat, which brings up Alcia's portion of the episode. Gabriel had captured him to have a demon general help the demons in this conflict, as well as due to the fact that Alcia in the war had never really lost, so having him as a head figure while Mao's considered dead or absent makes sense for what's going on. It's not 100% say on what the angels and Gabriel are up to, with the only thing being that he wants to save heaven. Not sure what that means for now, but moving on to one of the most important highlights of this episode, Mao's confession scene with Susanoo. And it's not what you think. This sort of starts with Susanoo asking him why he named his bikes Dullahans, if it was for a deeper reason, only for Mao to kind of give a human response, that being it was for good luck. Honestly, this just shows how much Mao has changed. The first episode of season 1, when he was an uncaring demon, and yet he's growing more of his human side. Or at least that's what I would say if Susanoo hadn't asked why he invaded Anti-Isla. To have him answer with such a response makes you really think, was Mao really ever evil? That had nothing to do with him and the demons, and seemed to have been living peacefully lives. But he was actually trying to save his people, and even had his demons not kill those that surrendered, and even took responsibility for the fuck up he did, which, I mean, I don't really blame him because he really didn't account for this, but this shows just what kind of king he was, a just one and a good leader. If Susanoo hadn't fallen in love with Mao yet, or before any of this, she definitely did right there. This might pose a problem though with Chico, but that's not an issue at least to deal with right now, since eventually they do encounter one of Emi's Enta-Isla friends, and learning why Emerada Etuva hasn't been responding to Susanoo's links. This is due to Olba and the church. They are basically forcing any ally of Emi into a corner and making sure that whatever they're planning doesn't get interrupted. Something that is also discovered by Alciel, aside from the Olba having used the demons, is he learns that the demons can use the Sephira. We've seen this before with the boy and the demon, as well as with Asieth Ala being used by Mao. This allows Alciel to puzzle together what Gabriel
and the
means
angels
by
want Amelia to defeat the
saving
demon
Heaven,
army on...
as well as Gabriel himself eavesdropping the conversation, mentioning the new Devilborn. And honestly, this all leaves me with a few questions, but the most important that Susanoo brings up at the end of the episode is, why hasn't Mao gone into his Demon King form now that they've returned to Enta-Isla? These questions are indeed alarming, which prompted me to make a one episode review, because the most important part of this episode is more entirely of Mao's and Emi's developments, being Emi basically hesitating to do her duty, because season 1 Emi at the beginning of the series would have definitely done this without hesitation, and now she's hesitating. As for Mao, Mao's stuff is learning more deep into his thoughts and why he did what he did. He united the demons all together, not really realizing this would kind of eventually lead to their own demise, and was forced to have to think of something to save them. So it really gives us an insight for these two characters, and kind of wondering where is this all leading off to.